There is really some big shifts happening in the world, and they are going to come like a snowball. Everything is going to hit so fast, and we're going to say, how did all that just happen? The technological part of life is moving really quickly. Shifting within wellness and mindfulness are changing. And we really need to think about all the ways that we are going to approach this from a place of integrity, all the ways that we are going to approach this from an evolutionary place, and all the ways we can still try to find to help. Welcome to Deeply Well, a soft place to land on your journey. A podcast for those that are curious, creative, and ready to expand in higher consciousness and self-care. This is where we heal. This is where we transcend. Welcome back to the show, everyone. I, of course, am your host, Devi Brown. Thank you so much for being here and spending a little extra time on yourself with me. It is always such a pleasure to do this show. Oh my gosh. Well, first things first, shout out to all the Geminis in the planet. Our season has come. It's time. We have been waiting patiently for the last 12 months for this moment. Shout out to all the summer babies. I am very excited because I am someone, as you know, if you listen to the show, that finds so much beauty and depth and power in astrology. I just deeply love it and enjoy it. And I always have, even before I knew astrology was bigger than just the back of a magazine page, while you're waiting in line in the grocery store. So Gemini season always feels so special to me. And I've talked about this on the show before, anytime truly it's your birthday, whenever you're born, there is this like really beneficial energy in the air for all of us. I like to call it portal energy. A lot of people call it that. But your birthday is like truly one of the most beautiful portals, entry points, exit points, moments for deep review and stock taking of your life, moment for really visualizing and calling in more. The veil is a little more thin. And I always feel that around your birthday, you have more access to yourself. And as someone that is a little more solar and lunar inclined, I like to go with the movements that are happening. We just came out of a Gemini new moon, which kicked off the season this week. It's currently the end of May 2025. And it was really interesting. The Gemini new moon, the themes that are in the air this week are really rooted around coming into your advanced state, right? Like it's really rooted in kind of taking stock even of your physicality and how you show up in the world. What's your style? What's the way you move? What are the things that are uniquely you? What are just the unique qualities about yourself in all the various categories of our lives. And I was thinking about that a lot this weekend as we're kind of getting into more of the summer time of year, though depending on where you are, weather-wise, you cannot tell because why is it raining all over the country? It is insane. It has been so cold for this time of year. But we're coming into summer. We're coming into this really beautiful moment that has always felt like a deep kind of charge of vitality for me. Maybe it's because we get the power of the sun more potently on earth, but yeah, it's a time of play, of recharge, of savoring, of being a little more experiential. We have more daylight. There's more time to explore and be with nature and be outdoors and the warmth. And so I love leaning into the season. So for anyone else that is having their birthday around this time, or if it's your 6-month mark, or even just leaning into the upcoming summer solstice, I'm really choosing to lean into some of those themes of the Gemini new moon, which is how can I embody the deep transformations that have already taken place inside of me even more externally, right? You know how sometimes you need to see like a visible change to change? You got to move, or you got to cut your hair, or you got to paint something, right? What are some ways that you can really anchor maybe some of the deeper work you've been doing with yourself, or the deeper observations? And what are some ways you can bring to life a little bit more right now, that interior space externally? The way that I don't quite know how I'm going to do that yet. I don't quite know what the most aligned way to do that is, but I started kind of beginning to court that energy a little bit, to date the energy, to foreplay with the energy, and took some time to really do a deep dive and a clean out of my closet. Things that no longer fit, things that I've been holding on to that just year after year I have not pulled for. I did all the shoes that need to get repaired, put those in a pile, all the clothes that need to get tailored, dry cleaned, those in a pile, big old donation pile. And it was really cool. I got done actually probably like 10 p.m. last night. And just kind of standing there was kind of cool to spend time with who you are, with different things that you wear or do. I'm somebody that collects a lot of random things that I like. I'm not necessarily always going to be, I most likely never, truthfully, on any trend, but I do find things that I uniquely love, and then I usually keep them forever. So you'll probably see me in a picture wearing things that you've seen me in a picture wear 100 times in the last 10 years. But when I like stuff, I really like to keep it, and I'll just get it like kind of repaired or updated over time. And so it was kind of cool looking through that lens, having so many different articles of clothing from specific moments in time, from time when I lived in Huston, from times, I have concert tees still hanging in my closet that I got, back in 07, 08. Or even younger. Like I have a Janet Jackson tee from like the 90s. And as I was going through my closet, I was really trying not to do any of it fast. I was like, all right, work with this kind of clean up and redefining energy, but move slowly. So I lit some incense next to my closet. I put on a playlist, had a little tea, got a little elevated, and then started really thinking about some of the core memories that were connected to some of these pieces of clothing. And ones I gave away, I kind of called back my soul fragments from those experiences, made peace, and then put it in the pile. Other stuff, I'll put away for a while, maybe rediscover in a couple years, and some stuff left hanging. But it's really, that invitation of the new moon to kind of look at how you can integrate that inner work with the outer work, and then being able to kind of see the growth and the change. Like when I wore this last, or when I wore this the first time, this is how I felt in my life. This is how I felt in my body. Who am I now? And it was kind of special. So my invitation to everyone listening to this episode, because the energetic potential is there to be maximized. What are some ways that you can really trust yourself and get creative with letting some of those inner changes in the ways that you feel about yourself, the ways you feel about your body, or maybe the ways you feel about your world? How can that come even more to life in your day-to-day? Is it maybe playing around with a couple new hairstyles, with even like a new moisturizer for your face, or a new kind of routine? Is it kind of looking a little more closely and saying, like, how do I accessorize? Or, what are the pieces of clothing that make me smile, even if no one else notices it? And how do I add more to that to my day? It really is. It really is that thing that sometimes can seem so surface that it's just silly. But you do feel better when you look better. And I have found that if you have been, especially in it for a couple years or for a length of time, doing work on yourself, you get sometimes so disconnected from the external that it almost feels like a more unimportant part of yourself compared to some of the things that you're moving through, or the ways that you're really using your brain or your brilliance or your heart, or the ways that you're grieving. But part of those deeper layers of integration and healing is really taking a moment to cleanse your own lens of perception with how you see yourself, right? Like something I've been appreciating in this season of my life, which I can't even believe this, but I enter my next decade in a couple weeks, and I feel so great about all of it. But being able to see like the changes in myself just in this last year, like letting some gray hair come in. I may change my mind at some point, to be honest, but I may not. But don't hold me to anything. I'm still feeling life out. But just I've let my grays grow in since maybe for about 8 months now, and seeing what that really looks like, and seeing, some of the wrinkles come in on my face, or the change in texture in my hair, the change in how I'm able to move, like that kind of all comes in at once. The closer you get to 40, you'll be like, I feel like I'm 25. And then all of a sudden, like you literally wake up one morning and you're like, well, there's gravity and there's like age, But I'm so excited to be a woman alive right now, to be a person alive right now. I don't feel as bogged down as, I've been assuming some of the elders in my life might have felt at this turning point. So much has changed, so much work to still be done, but so much has been changed around ageism and feminism and beauty standards that just did not exist even until the last 5 years, to be honest. And so, something I'm trying to put a lot of intentional thought into is, how do you do that differently, right? How do you make even aging be something that can happen a little more on your authentic terms, right? Like, it's not something I'm trying to avoid. I have no control over it, and it will just continue to snowball from here. So I want to love all of it. I want to love every moment of it. So I've been enjoying that a lot. And all of that was kind of coming together through this living meditation of purging my closet and purging, even some of my own self-concept this week, and finding ways to add even more creativity to the things that I like to have on my body, or scents and clothes and all of that. So I hope this is an invitation for you listening to just take some time and have fun with that. You don't have to get it right. Play dress up with yourself, play in your hair, play with some products. Like, those are the parts that I think, especially as you move out of your 20s, you don't have as much playtime in, because you develop whatever your routine with your products and your things or your style is. But every 5 years, so much about us changes. Every decade, so much about us changes. So how do we update that part of us too, to be even more connected to who we know ourselves to be? Yeah. Something to think about, something to journal to, something to have fun with. And also, life is busy. So if you need to do it like one weekend at a time and just slowly dent through it, maybe spend the summer doing it until you get to fall, might be something special to do. So kind of in that same vein of things, aside from, I gave you your homework first today, your soul work came first in the episode, but I'll reintegrate it towards the end. But I want to share a couple things. So as a lot of you know, I am on the road, baby. I have been out there hitting the streets. And I travel quite a bit for work, but this is like something else entirely. And it has been a joy being with you in person. Like, words cannot describe how special it has been for me to be with each one of you in person. And I want to start this part of the show by saying a huge thank you to my friend, Alencia Johnson, for joining me in Washington, D.C. for our amazing talk. Thank you to Mahogany Books, a legendary, iconic bookstore in D.C., Black-owned bookstore. That it was just, I had such a special time there and ate so much amazing food. The conversations we were having were just so big. And I just appreciate every single word that each person that comes has shared, like truly, madly, deeply. So many listeners from the Dropping Gems podcast, now Deeply Well. So many listeners from radio, from whether I was on air in LA, New York, or Houston, coming out and like, wow, I feel like I'm on like one of those shows where they're like, and welcome to your life. This is this moment. Now there's this moment. Like, I feel like I'm walking through like the milestones of my life in such like a quick succession. And as an author, as an author of a book that has kind of closed a loop on a lot of the really substantial moments in my life and my own healing journey, it's just so kismet and so divine to be having these moments on the road. Like, it's all just feeding and layering into one another, and I am incredibly grateful. I had a chance to go to Houston, H-Town. I just got back from the H, and like, wow, I hadn't been back to Houston in 8 years. I had the pleasure of living in Houston for, I believe, around 5 years, maybe a little more. And I was on the radio in Houston. I had a radio show, and I did some news with the CBS affiliate there. And it was my life for years. It was my community. I was really blessed and grateful to receive 9 years ago a proclamation of my own day in Houston, which is May 26th. And it's just a place that is just like insanely special to my heart. But it's also somewhere that I have not been able to get back to for nearly a decade. So when I was getting ready to go to Houston, I didn't quite know what to expect. I knew I had some unfinished soul business there. There were some conflicting feelings, like Houston meant so much to me. And while I lived there, I was so homesick. I missed my family. I missed some of my friends. I missed LA. So I was always having this very dualistic experience of like really achieving things that I wanted to do and be while I was there, and having a lot of love and support, and feeling a big sense of loss, like there was a void, like there was a part of me that I didn't have access to. And so being with both those feelings, and I know, you know, when I've spoken with other people who have also been expats at various points in their adult life, either they moved around a lot for work, or they moved for family, or they were in the armed services and moved around quite a bit, or were traveling nurses. It's like, you know, it's this strange experience of amassing life experience in these places, but not being able to take community when you go into new places. And so, yeah, it's this very interesting space to be in, of purpose meets discomfort, you know, and new meets old, and yeah, just a lot of duality. So I made it to Houston. The first things first that I did was drop down and get to Papados. I mean, I could not drop my bag fast enough. Like, truly, I stayed over by the Galleria. And I was like, first things first, Papados on Westheimer. Let's go. That's personally my favorite Papados, but that's the one that I had a lot more memories at, though. I think the one on 610 is probably the one that everybody goes to more so, but went to Westheimer Papados, got my alligator bites, had the Mardi Gras pasta, had the shrimp and cheese crab dip. I mean, come on. There is no better food than the food in Houston. And then the next day, I was so grateful to be joined by my dear friend Bun B in conversation. It is one of the most special conversations I have ever had. And this might be my favorite stop so far on the book tour. It was so many amazing friends and supporters in the city came out. So I'll be sharing more about that on Instagram, but I am just exceedingly grateful. And you know, there are two questions that have come up in the last few weeks that I kind of want to bring up on this podcast episode. There's no real solutions that I have, but just as thought starters for each of us as you're listening to this show. But there is really some big shifts happening in the world, and they are going to come like a snowball. Everything is going to hit so fast, and we're going to say, how did all that just happen? The technological part of life is moving really quickly. The changes that are happening to our medical industry complex is happening quickly. The things that are changing and shifting within wellness and mindfulness are changing. And we really need to think about all the ways that we are going to approach this from a place of integrity, all the ways that we are going to approach this from an evolutionary place, and all the ways we can still try to find to help others within these spaces. So one of the questions that has come up, I was hosting a panel at the Milken conference, which I shared on the show already. And I remember one of the questions that was asked at the end of the talk to all of the people on the panel who were talking about the various things happening and evolving within the wellness industry was, and it was an audience submitted question, but it was, how do we bring the poor along? Outside of the phrasing of the question, right? I'm saying it how it was asked, but I think it's really important to be thinking about this because there are so many big conversations about biohacking, about health, about, living to over 100 and what you need to do that. And it's like all of the ways that we're approaching it are incredibly elitist, and only open to a very, very, very select few. And select few in terms of, one, access to money, and two, access to the time to be able to do what a lot of these things require to actually heal, to be, de-stress, to be healthful. And so it's a question that I have been thinking about for years. I try to keep it at the forefront of my thought, but as now we're really moving into just such different, exceedingly different lifestyles, especially with the technological advancements of the last 3 years and the ones to come, how can we make sure mental health, nervous system regulation, really is equitable? And I may be asking this question more so for the business owners within this industry, for the practitioners, the facilitators, the others that are more regularly thinking about helping in healing. What are the ways that even for those that do this work as a career, that we always are sure to have a high-low, right? Not just in price points, but how do you make sure that whatever it is you're creating or whatever ways you're accessing things can also be trickled back, trickled down? I don't have all the solutions. I know I, for myself, always try to give free work whenever I can with my extra time. I think that's important. I might do a high-end retreat, and then I'll also do the exact same retreat, taught exactly the same at a deep fraction of the price. Or if I teach something somewhere else and I'm getting a certain fee, I will also find a way to volunteer and teach that same work in a different capacity for free. And I try to do that quite a bit throughout the year. I always have, if I have something really good for me from a career standpoint, I try to also make sure I have a free version of that I give to someone or the world in some way. But when it comes to health, when it comes to having the means to connect with, the different technologies that can really help people, I'm really thinking about that right now. So if anyone else is thinking about that too, I would love to hear about it. Please DM me or hit us up. There should be a way to contact within the show notes. I would just love to hear how other people are thinking of this too, because I think we should be putting our heads together, putting our hearts together to make sure that healing work has more quality to it moving forward in the world. Yeah, a lot of thoughts on that, but still thinking about that. So, for those that are in the Los Angeles area, I want to share with you something that I just put up on my Instagram today. So I kicked off this really beautiful partnership with Airbnb. They've unrolled all of these experiences that they're doing around the country, around the world. Really cool stuff. Like they have this huge thing for it. So you might have seen it on social, but I have a Airbnb experience that I designed for them called the Malibu Meditation Experience. And we actually got the Hannah Montana house, for those that are familiar with that, in Malibu on the water. And I have 4 different sessions that I'm going to be offering. They're about 2 hours each. You can do one-on-one within a group sessions with me at that beautiful Malibu oasis, and we'll be doing breath work together. I'll be leading meditation. We'll be doing an energetic reset, some reflection by the ocean, and also a road mapping exercise for being able to build a daily practice once you get home. So I've done a few of these so far, really excited about doing more, and there are a few seats left for that. So you would just go to the link in bio that I have or show notes of this episode, and you can book your Airbnb experience with me. It's about 2 hours. And I'm looking forward to doing that with anyone that joins me. It's going to be a lot of fun. And it really is. I've done a couple at this house so far, and it's just a really special, breathtaking experience, just really regulating. It is us and the sea and the sand and some really beautiful silence. We've had some really, really special breakthrough experiences with people that have come on that journey with me. So you can connect with me there, and that's going to be happening on June 7th and June 8th, so in just a couple of weeks. I am headed to Detroit next. I'm so excited to be in conversation with my friend Jessica Nabongo, who was a recent guest this season on the podcast. She is an amazing woman that has traveled to every single country in the world. The first Black woman to do so. And I mean, first of all, her book, Catch Me If You Can, it's just a must-have. But it's just such an inspiring way to experience life. It's such an inspiring way to experience your own creativity and resilience and mission. It's such a beautiful purpose to have. And so I'm going to be in conversation with her at this incredible library, this very like Art Deco old library in Detroit. I think there are a couple seats left. Well, it's tomorrow. You're not going to hear this episode yet. So you'll see the pictures on the gram, but I'm really excited to be on the next stop. So if you haven't yet, highly recommend getting my book, Living in Wisdom. It has been special seeing some of the responses people have that have just finished the book, that have kind of been giving me feedback on how they flowed through some of the stories, how they flowed through some of the practices and the curriculum. And it's really exciting to see those who have jump-started their practice through using this book. That is my deepest intention. If you haven't got the book already, it could be a very, very amazing way to lock in to your healing journey this summer. There are so many practices in this book, in meditation, in breath work, working with essential oils, working with somatic processes, working with your physicality, with stretching, with yoga, so many journal prompts, affirmations. Working with all of these modalities within the structure of the book could be a really beautiful kind of scaffolding for your life and your purpose right now. Use this summer to get really aligned for fall. There is such an energy of joy, of magnetism present this season. So think to yourself, how can I maximize the energetic potential of my life right now? How can I maximize the energetic potential of my life this summer? Let that be your question. Meditate with that. And whether it's through my book and my practices, or it's through another system, or it's through your own kind of self-inquiry, give yourself the next 3 months as we get ready to move slowly into June to really lock into a deeper piece of your curriculum, a deeper piece of your joy, a deeper piece of your connection to your body. What can that look like for you this summer? Dream big and let the natural energy of joy, of vitality, of solar energy that is just present on the planet during the summer, let that be your fuel. Let that feed you, right? Let these dog days of summer, these beautifully dusky nights and the long sunsets and the starry skies, let the awe and the wonder and the beauty and the heat of this summer fuel, propel, and heal all those extra layers of the things you've wanted to approach so far. I hope you'll dive into that soul work. Thank you for listening. As always, please, if you have an opportunity and you've already gotten the book, please leave a review and rate and review the podcast. Until next episode, big, 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 big love. Namaste.